Hey guys, Reuben Williams here, founder of SportsGrad. Back in the day, I landed a job at Cricket Australia on the Monday after my final university exam. And then 3 years later, when COVID hit and my job was made redundant, rather than looking for work for months on end, I was headhunted into a role that doubled my salary. I'm not telling you this to brag, I'm telling you because there is a method to it. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. For example, Lucas Viana, one of our members, called the SportsGrad method a cheat code, and another member, Sasha Brahim, she called it magic. And honestly, I'll take that. Now, most people spend years trying to break into sport and never figure out why it is not working. And so the reason that this podcast exists is to change that. Every week, I'm going to share some real moments from real coaching calls that are unfiltered, unscripted, so you get a taste for the kind of work that has helped people land over 800 roles in sport and counting. If you're ready to stop guessing and start moving in the right direction and go after the career that you've always wanted, apply for the SportsGrad Method program at sportsgrad.com.au. Now, let's get into it.
Yeah, how's it going, mate? Sorry, I'm gonna be off camera today because I'm just walking home right now.
No problem.
I'm actually just leaving a networking event, so I wanted to chat a little bit about that.
Awesome.
Sorry, I'll turn this off now so I can actually talk. Because man, I really took for granted what you built with the SportsGrad meetups. Not all networking events are like that. Sometimes they're real rough, bro. It's really so. This thing that I was at today, right? It was an information session for Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment is doing a sales development academy, something they do every year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry if you can hear back at me in the background, right? So it's mostly an information session, but of course they had panelist speakers, they had graduates of the program, current Maple Leaf staff, and then some current students in the program as well, right? So it's a 1 year contract, development program, sort of like a graduate traineeship. But and afterwards they had open questions. And in environments like that, it feels very one-sided because it's a lot of people, maybe college students, maybe people really just trying to break into that first role, and a very small group of people that they're trying to talk to. So it all gets very crowded and very whatever, right? So I guess now it's hard because of course the events that you built are not quite so much like that. So how would you approach these things? And I'll tell you what I did, right? I tried to find something really specific that one person had said and build a conversation about this like one particular thing instead of trying to be very generic. And I think that produced good results. He's like, yeah, let's go for a coffee. Great, we got a connection there. But yeah, in scenarios like that where it's almost very one-sided, how do you stand out without seeming like you're trying to push your way to the front?
Yep. So I'm guessing like the problem you face is that it felt a bit cliquey and it was hard to join conversations when you didn't know anyone going in there.
Yeah, so again, most people are, this is all people trying to break into this program, right? Get into this graduate traineeship. So some people were students and they knew each other. But again, it was just, there was, the proportions of people that want to get into sport and the people that are working in the desired company, it's very heavily favored to one side, right? Whereas a lot of the networking events that I've been to and the ones that you built are lots of people at lots of different organizations or levels of education. So yeah, it's a numbers game really, and it's really like seeing the recruitment pipeline in front of my eyes, and it opens it up a lot. How many people there are competing for limited resources, we'll call it.
Yep. I hear you. Well, thank you for that feedback. That's good to know that the SportsGrad meetups are bringing a good ratio of professionals to job hunters. And to your point as well, like I understand like how daunting it can be to walk into a room where you don't know anyone and and everyone already knows each other and they're chatting and whatnot. So that was one of the reasons why we introduced speed networking as the event starts, so that there's no chance for an awkwardness, and you immediately get to chat with someone. But when SportsGrad's not hosting the event, what do you do? So in this occasion, it sounds like you didn't have a lot to work with. It sounds like everyone's kind of like bees to a honeypot to a few professionals, and it's hard to get time.
Very, very much, yes.
Yep. Okay. I mean, there are some realities around like the limitations of that, because like, if you are, seventh in line to someone, you don't just want to cut to the front and be like, hey, by the way, like, please chat with me. but you still want to try and make the most of the evening. So in my mind, making the most of an evening like that, um, if you were to find yourself in the same situation again, would be one, what are the unique and different sort of approaches I can take to getting time with the decision makers in the room? And then in between that, who can I meet who, might go far one day? Because when I think about network, you want to connect with people who can help you on different horizons, whether that's, who can help you in the next 1 year, who can help you in the next 3 to 5 years, and might be able to help you in the next 10 years. Okay. For example, like, being part of this program and in the community, yes, you're all like-minded and helping each other, but like where the rubber is really going to hit the road and there's going to be a tangible impact of knowing each other through SportsGrad is probably 10 years from now. And that's something that Nathan Peroni talks about a lot. He's like, he keeps coming back to these events because, in 10 years, we might do a business deal together or we might hire each other, that sort of thing. And so with that in mind, that's where, actually getting to connect with some of the other job hunters in the room can be valuable, but you do have to think super, super long-term with that. So that's like how I'd make the most of the time in between trying to get to the 1 year people. And and that's where, stories like Garth Towan come to mind, where, he's literally holding the door open for 3 minutes to get his chance to chat with one person. And I'm not sure like what the setup of the room was like for this, or, who's coming, and or if they even told you who the professionals were beforehand, and that sort of thing. But that's where, like, based on the environment, the circumstances that you're giving, you might just want to, think creatively on how you can get time with these people. And even, if you, for example, like if one person who you wanted to speak to, you didn't get time with the entire night, you see them leaving, you don't want to be weird about it, but maybe you leave with them and you just happen to have parked your car in the same direction. Your car might be a kilometer in the
Oh,
opposite
yes, of course.
direction.
Complete coincidence. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But literally,
The,
like,
the grade school crush approach.
yeah, exactly right. Like, these are sort of the non-creepy but extreme ways to get time with people that, you got to think about when you're in a competitive room like that. So, um, unfortunately, there's no sort of like clear cut answer or even like, clear script on what you can say to the 7 people in front of you to make them part like the Red Sea and get out of the way. But you do just have to kind of think, creatively and find a way. Disregard the value of connecting with other job hunters as well, because whether they help you in 10 years or even if they can provide you an introduction to somebody else, then that could still be valuable. For example, you never know like who else doing that program in there has got a connection to someone important at Maple Leaf Sports who might be one connection away. So keep that in mind too.
Yeah, I just want to get your thoughts on this, Ruben. So, for context, like I'm an international student coming into Australia. I just finished my sports management degree. And like ever since moving here, I tried to familiarize myself with the sporting culture in Australia. So, like I didn't know anything about rugby league like 2 years ago. I just started learning it and I love it. So, but my main question is like if I'm someone who's trying to break into the industry, should I be open-minded to the point where I would go for any sporting job, or should I just stick to the one sport that I feel like I'm fully educated on? And I have a follow-up question to this, but it depends on how you answer this.
Yeah, sure thing. Do you know what your 1 year goal is?
My 1 year goal, I hope I could get into some kind of marketing role
Mm,
within well, my main sport is soccer or
mm,
football.
yep.
So that's the industry that I'm targeting.
Okay, cool. Well, let's say like, you had it your way. How would you define your 1 year goal? Is it work, as a marketing manager at Football Australia or at Sydney FC? The more pointed and specific you can be, i.e. the clearer your vision, the easier it is to make meaningful steps towards it. So how would you define that 1 year goal?
If you're gonna ask me to like be very specific about it,
Mm,
I don't think going for like managerial roles is realistic. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm saying like I'm thinking one step at a time,
mm,
and I would hope for something like an entry role, possibly work in like in teams because that's what I'm used to.
hmm
I spoke to Jack about this as well. Like at the end of my uni year, like the very last year, we got to collaborate with Penrith Panthers, and we got to work in groups of like, okay, how can we improve the fan engagement when they're during their stadium renovations and all
Mm,
that. So that's kind of like the role I'm targeting. And I was like a
mm,
data analyst for that group.
yep.
But yeah, like to be very specific, um, yeah, I'm not too sure if I really hit the
Mm.
nail on that part just yet.
Sounds like marketing coordinator at Western Sydney Wanderers is
Yeah,
your goal.
yeah. And speaking of Western Sydney Wanderers, like I do have a connection with the head of commercials with
Mm,
yeah, Steve Mandis. Uh,
mm,
so like I met up with him like at a business conference,
mm,
and we exchanged contacts because he knows that I'm looking for a job,
mm,
and at the time he was like, "Oh, we're looking for some people."
mm,
Uh, but yeah, that was like in November, but it wasn't guaranteed that I was going to get anything out of that, but I was hoping to build at least a relationship. And
mm,
at the conference, he was talking about the challenges they were facing in terms of fan engagement. Naturally you would want to give out some
mm.
ideas.
Yep.
And just like last week, I reached out to him, hey, I have a few ideas, and he was like, oh, okay, cool. We'll have a chat at the end of the season.
Mm, yep.
So yeah.
Yep. Nice. Okay, so your problem at the moment of being unsure of what to aim for is coming from not being clear on where you're going, or at least um, not having conviction in where you want to go. Because it sounds like you have an idea of where you want to go, but there's something in you that's going, oh, I'm not sure if that's really possible. And now you're kind of, um, shortcutting yourself by thinking, oh, maybe I should go for these other different things that kind of seem realistic. When really, if you get there, it's not going to suffice because you're still going to have that goal of, I want to work in marketing in football, right? So, what I would do is clearly articulate that goal, and perhaps it is marketing coordinator at Western Sydney Wanderers, and you want to anchor your decisions towards that. So, for example, in your career operating system, at the top, it gets you to outline like your 10-year vision, 3-year vision, and then 1-year vision as well. Start with your 1-year vision if 3 and 10 are too far away to clearly think about, and write down exactly what that looks like. I want to be working, in the marketing team at Western Sydney Wanderers or Sydney FC or Football Australia or whatever MacArthur, whatever that looks like for you. And then every single decision should be, does this get me closer to that goal? So, for example, let's say a job comes up in a marketing team at, Volleyball New South Wales. Um, uh, and you're like, oh, well, it's not football. Should I go for it? I would suggest yes, because it gives you marketing experience in sport, which I'm not too sure what your sport marketing experience is at the moment, but I'd assume it would probably get you further ahead than where you are right now. So it's a step in the right direction. And that would mean like once you're in there, like, okay, you're on the path. And that means that when you eventually when an opening comes up at one of those 3 football organizations I mentioned, you've now got more meaningful experience to talk about. So it may take a couple of steps to get to that dream role, which means that, some of the things you're thinking about, whether it's like another type of job or another type of sport or whatever, you need to see them as meaningful stepping stones instead of like, oh, I'm going to be here for forever. Okay. So what I'd do is I would go back to your career operating system, clearly articulate that 1-year vision, and then it'll become quite clear how to write down those 4 quadrants of goals for yourself. So your people goal becomes super specific. It's marketing people in football. And I'm not sure if Tunahan was the person who introduced you to the program and got you involved, but he works at Sydney FC. He can introduce you to the marketing team there. Catherine Jeffcock is another person who's come through the program as well last year. She can also introduce you to people at Sydney FC too. And so there are people who can help you with your people goal if that is a very specific goal based on your 1-year vision. And then your project goal becomes very specific too. I mean, it's amazing that you have offered to reach out to a club and offer to do their social media as well. Sounds like, if you approach the right, football club in Sydney that's got a good network and might be connected into the state leagues and whatnot, then that would be a great way to not only create a project of your work, but also tap into the football networks as well that are going to ladder up. Because I can guarantee you, like people at Sydney FC, people at Football New South Wales, people at Football Australia, they are involved in football at a grassroots level somewhere. Okay. and it's going to probably be one of the big popular clubs because that's where, the majority of people come from, who eventually get to the elite level. And then on top of that as well, like, it becomes more meaningful to know what to post on LinkedIn when you set a brand goal for yourself. If you're like, okay, cool. I actually just want to break down marketing campaigns in football. And World Cup is coming up. Maybe in the 10 weeks leading up to the World Cup, you break down the 10 best marketing campaigns that have ever existed for the FIFA World Cup, of which I would absolutely subscribe to that because there have been some epic ones. So that is, these are the cogs that will start to turn your brain if you can get super clear on like what that end goal for you is, which I think you've got, but you just need to go after it with a bit more conviction.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, thank you for that. And I do have the follow-up question that does align with one of the
Mm,
things that you just said. But again, before I get to that, you mentioned about the whole go to the whole marketing campaign, post on LinkedIn, create some
mm.
content on LinkedIn. I'm in the process of doing that, and the last two posts managed to get like over 1,000 impressions
Amazing.
in less than a week. So I guess on that part, I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
And but the follow-up question was the
Sorry, what,
um,
what were your posts previously doing in terms of view count?
view count in terms of profile views.
Views on your content.
Using my content. I gotta check, but
Had you posted any content before these last 2 weeks?
before that, it was more of like, hey, I attended this, I attended
Mm,
that.
yep.
Surprisingly, like one of the posts where I attended like the Sydney Derby game, it got like 1,500 impressions, and I think
Nice.
it's the most liked post on my profile.
Nice.
So surprisingly, yeah,
Mm,
I guess whatever works. Um, But yeah, the main goal with that, including posting like breaking down marketing campaign, was just to gain visibility. So
mm.
that was my whole purpose of doing that kind of content stuff on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Fantastic. And sorry, I interrupted your follow-up question.
Yeah, you did say, well, because I did have a thought where I'm going through the job ads and I'm thinking, oh, this is an interesting role, but it's not the sport that I want.
Mm,
But you would encourage me to still go for it, because now that you have some experience in like marketing and sports.
mm. Yep.
So at the same time, you've also encouraged us to have a story to tell in our interviews or in our
Mm,
CV. But what kind of story could I tell if I'm like a one sport person?
mm. So what's the important part of the story?
My story?
Of anyone's story of why they want to work in sport? What's the most important element?
Uh, no clue.
It's the impact point.
Impact, making impact,
The
right?
impact point. Okay. So in your career story, you want to start by sharing like your own impact point, and
Okay.
then later circle around to how your story and that impact point that made a difference in you and changed chemistry in your brain is aligned with the impact point that this specific department is trying to create. So for fan engagement, it might be, fans in the crowd, with their mouths wide open going, oh my God, how cool is this? For high performance, it's different. For participation, it's different. It's kids connecting and picking up a bat or a ball or kicking something around for the first time. The
Yeah.
most important part is the impact point, not the sport. Okay.
Yeah.
So your story still does matter, but don't get too caught up in like, oh, my story is about, soccer and I'm applying for a role in baseball. Like,
Yeah.
what they really want to see in you is, does SAC actually care about the work that we are trying to do, which is,
Mm.
not just about baseball, but it's about increasing participation, or it's about making more money through commercial partnerships, or it's about increasing fan engagement, or, whatever it might be. If you can focus on the impact point, then, sport it matters less. All right, guys, that is all for today. I hope you enjoyed that and got something out of it. If you want to learn directly from me and our other SportsGrad coaches who are working directly in the industry, then jump into the SportsGrad Method program. Once you're inside, you'll also get access to the entire SportsGrad Method curriculum that comes with a 90-day roadmap, so you know exactly what to do next. There is a step-by-step system to this. You do not have to think of what to do. We have thought of it all for you. Plus, you can tap into the SportsGrad network and get introductions to the people that might be hard to meet for you at the moment. Plus, you'll be surrounded by the wonderful SportsGrad community who are all helping each other get closer to their goals as well. So, the The results speak for themselves. Have a look at the website if you want to check it all out, but we'd love to see you inside and receive your application. See ya.